as we wrap up another year, I want to hear from you. Our 2023 listener survey is now live. Whether you've listened to one episode of the Elevate podcast or 90 episodes, I want to hear your feedback to create even better episodes for you next year. As a thank you for your time, participants can be entered to win a $100 Starbucks gift card and a 30-minute coaching session with me. Your time and feedback mean the world to me. To take the survey, visit the link in the show notes. Hello and welcome to the Elevate podcast. I'm your host, Patricia Nowakowski. I am a salon owner, educator, mindset, and leadership coach that helps salon owners go from overwhelmed and burnt out to motivated and empowered. It is my mission to help you systemize your business, generate more profit, and create a career that you are absolutely in love with. Join us every week to learn about the small shifts you can make to elevate your business regarding mindset, marketing, social media, business systems, and so much more. We're going to be talking about ego and how this may be prohibiting your growth inside of your business. So first and foremost, what is ego and what is reactivity? So ego is that little voice in your head that is a protection mechanism that essentially tries to keep you in your comfort zone so that you continually feel safe and secure. And as we know, there is no growth in comfort zones. If you've been feeling overwhelmed and overworked from owning your salon, you're not alone. If you're like many salon owners, you wanted to build a salon that makes you feel fulfilled, passionate, and something that brings you freedom and flexibility into your life. But you ended up being exhausted from taking on all your business tasks alone. It doesn't have to be this way. It's time for change. The Elevated Salon Owner Collective will help you do just that. You'll automate your salon, implement solid business systems, transform your salon culture, and take charge of your online presence to regain freedom back into your business. I'd love for you to experience the freedom and fulfillment that you've desired when you decided to create your business. To learn more, visit opulentbeautypro.com/elevate or click the link in the show notes. What is reactivity and how do these two things work together? So reactivity is the flight, fight, and freeze response that is involuntarily happening when our body and mind feels threatened or feels some sort of state of fear, right? So this response exists to keep people safe, preparing them to either run away, hide, escape, or to move forward towards danger. So why is it important to understand ego and to understand reactivity, especially when it comes to business? Reactivity is important because when we usually are giving into reactivity and when we're giving into our ego, we are choosing short-term fulfillment for long-term suffering. When we fight against our reactivity, we're doing the hard thing first to experience long-term growth and fulfillment. So the best way I like to explain reactivity and explain how our ego keeps us small and keeps us from our growth is the gym analogy. I'm sure everyone listening to this has experienced a moment in time where they wanted to be healthier, get healthier, and maybe improve the way they look by going to the gym. Now, going to the gym is such a painful process, right? Because it's a lot of work up front, a lot of long-term work that we have to put into going to the gym. And after we put in the work, we see long-term fulfillment with results that take quite a while to achieve, right? You can't just go to the gym one day and have a dramatic weight loss and a banging body. It just doesn't work that way. You have to continually be disciplined, put in the work to get the result that you want. And there's a lot of things in life that are like this, right? A lot of little daily disciplines, which usually means fighting against your reactivity to create the result that you want. So when we're talking about the gym analogy, we're talking about getting ready to go to the gym. We're talking about getting to push through the discomfort to get the result that we want. And that usually happens by going to bed early, setting our alarm. Now, when the alarm goes off in the morning and we give into our ego and our reactivity, usually looks like this. Your alarm goes off, you wake up and you're like, oh, I really just don't feel like going to the gym today. I really just not feeling it. Maybe I'll start tomorrow. People will make fun of me. Do I even know how to work? Your ego pops in your brain and tells you all of these stories to keep you in your comfort zone, which is in your like cozy little bed, right? So you have two choices. You have the choice to give into your reactivity, which would be staying in bed. So you hit snooze, you hit snooze, you hit snooze. During the snoozing, you feel really comfortable and you feel really happy and you feel a small sense of fulfillment by sleeping in. Finally, your alarm goes off and it is now too late to go to the gym, but you have to get up and go to work. For the rest of the day, how do you feel? Usually feel underaccomplished. You feel negative about yourself because you didn't stick to your word. You said you were going to go to the gym and you didn't follow through. So you have that short-term fulfillment for long-term suffering, which is a whole day usually of not feeling great about yourself. Now, when we push against our ego and reactivity, it is the opposite. That alarm goes off. We don't want to get up out of bed. Our ego pops in our brain and tells us all the scary things. People will make fun of you. Do you even know how to work out? Let's start again tomorrow. The gym, it's too cold outside. The gym seems too far away. But instead of giving into that reactivity and that ego, you fight against it. You get out of bed, you put your gym clothes on, and then you go to the gym. You push through that little moment of discomfort and pain to then for the rest of the day feel happy and fulfilled. When we make it to the gym, we usually feel like we've accomplished something, we've stuck to our words, we've accomplished something. Our clothes usually will feel a little less tight. We usually will eat, better choices or have better choices for food because we went to the gym. We don't want to ruin our progress. And that is essentially what fighting our reactivity and fighting through ego looks like in a very simple example. It's like this for most things in our life. Having difficult conversations, it's so easy to run away or put it off to the next day or not have conversations at all. Taking risks to grow our business financially, doing the things that are really hard to do up front is usually what's going to push you to your next level and create that fulfillment that you want for your future. So what are some other ways that reactivity can be detrimental and affect your business? So some ways that reactivity can be detrimental is impulsive decision making. When business leaders or employees react impulsively to challenges or opportunities without considering all of the relevant factors, it can lead to poor decision making. Rash decisions made without careful thought or analysis may result in financial losses, missed opportunities, or damage to your business reputation. Another thing that it can do is create a negative workplace environment. Reactivity often involves emotional and erratic responses, which can create a negative and volatile atmosphere in a workplace, especially if you are a fight response when it comes to reactivity. If your employees are constantly reacting emotionally to situations, it can lead to tension, conflict, and decreased productivity. It may also affect employee morale and engagement, leading to higher turnover rates. So poor customer service is another thing that can be created from reactivity inside of your business. And poor customer service can manifest in the way businesses react and interact with their customers. If employees react defensively or dismissively to customer concerns or complaints, it can damage the customer-business relationship, and poor customer service can result in lost customers, negative reviews, and a tarnished reputation. Lack of strategic planning is also something that reactivity can cause, and reactivity often focuses on immediate responses to short-term issues. However, successful businesses require a long-term vision and strategic planning. And if businesses are consistently reacting to immediate problems without considering the bigger picture, it can hinder growth and progress. And being reactive rather than proactive can lead to missed opportunities and falling behind with competitors. It can also lead to ineffective communication. So reactivity can hinder effective communication within the organization when individuals are solely focused on their immediate reactions and emotions. They may fail to listen attentively or consider other people's perspectives, and this can lead to misunderstanding, miscommunication, and a breakdown in collaboration and teamwork. So how do we understand our reactivity, identify our reactivity, and work through our ego response and our reactive responses? Now, I would like to remind you that this is a psychological fear response, and this is a built-in defense mechanism that every single person has. Every single person has a reactive response and a fear-based response that pops up when our lack of being in our comfort zone or when our fear is triggered. So first and foremost, you have to identify which is your primary response to fear. So there are three main responses: fight, flight, and freeze. And we're going to go over the different characteristics of each one of these so you can identify which is your primary fear response when your fear is triggered in life and in business. So first, let's start with the flight response. If you are a flighter, then you avoid confrontation and tend to think if you ignore it, it will go away. You often run away from things that make you feel uncomfortable. Flight response, they are typically those of us who may struggle with addictions like work, shopping, alcohol, social media, Netflix. All of these are ways for you to escape your reality. When faced with a dangerous situation, a flight response corresponds with avoidant behavior. When you are in a healthy flight response, you are able to be discerning in stressful situations and disengage within limits. However, the trauma response with flights is you take the steps to isolate yourself entirely to avoid stressful situations or avoid situations that make you feel afraid or bring on feelings of fear. So when you are a flight response, you have feelings of panic and anxiety. You can be a workaholic. You are always on the go. You like to stay busy. Sometimes you're an over-worrier. You can be a perfectionist, an overachiever, hyperactive, rushing around, over-analytical, and you can't sit still, and you try to micromanage situations and other people. If you are a fight response, if you're a fighter, then you are usually either somebody who sets out to constantly and consistently prove themselves at all costs, often leading to a life of achievement but lacking fulfillment and close relationships, or you are someone who has many volatile relationships, seemingly fighting battle after battle just to get by. When you are in a healthy fight response, the fight response can allow for assertion and solid boundaries. When unhealthy and when used in a trauma response, it is an act of self-preservation function where you move reactively towards conflict with anger and aggression. So here are some signs that you may be a fight response. You will self-preserve at all costs, especially with anger. You have an explosive temper. You have outbursts of aggressive behavior. You cannot hear other people's point of view. You have a pronounced sense of entitlement. You try to dominate and control others. You demand perfection from others. You pursue power and control. You have impulsive decision making. You can be labeled as a bully. You criticize and sometimes have situations of rage, and you have dictatorial tendencies. The freeze response is our last response we're going to be covering. If you are a freezer, you tend to live a simple, non-eventful, ordinary life. You avoid putting yourself out there too much and prefer to observe and follow. You maintain relationships, and when you are in a healthy freeze response, you can help slow down and appraise the situation carefully to determine the next steps. When unhealthy, the freeze response relates to disassociation and immobilizing behavior. So depression, disassociation, brain fog, avoids human contact, detached, isolating self from the outside world, wants to hide from the world, struggles with making and acting for decision making. You hibernate, you're a couch potato, you are lifeless and feel dead inside, you feel spaced out, unreal, you disassociate and are an achievement phobic. So once we identify what our reactive response is, our primary reactive response, and I want to say that you can be all three of these and have all three of these tendencies in different areas of your life, and you can have a more predominant one in, let's say, your personal life compared to your work life. So how we begin to work through and really utilize our reactive response to find fulfillment is when we have that feeling of fear, reactive response is triggered. And then our ego comes into play and usually tells us to stay away from or not do the thing that we really need to do. Again, like having a difficult conversation. When we can understand what our reactive response is and identify it, then we know by doing the opposite of what that reactive response is, usually will end up in bringing the fulfillment that we want in our life. So you have to work against it to create the results that you want. Not wanting to have a difficult conversation, you should probably have a difficult conversation. Wanting to have an outburst towards one of your employees because they make a big mistake in your business, doing the opposite of that is holding it in, pausing, and waiting till you've cooled down. This is how we begin to grow our consciousness. This is how we begin to grow our leadership skills. And this is how we begin to achieve the success we want in our business. So I would like you to sit down, really think about which reactive response is what your primary reactive response is. And then I would like you to begin to work against that little voice in your brain that is trying to keep you small, because doing the opposite of what it tells you to do is usually going to bring you to the fulfillment that you desire. I hope this was beneficial for you, and I hope that it is going to shed some light on some areas where you have opportunity to grow and where we can really start being intentional with our actions to create the results and the success that we want in our business. Thanks for tuning in to the Elevate podcast. If you loved this episode, it would mean the world to me if you would leave a review on Apple Podcast or wherever you listen. The Elevate podcast is hosted by me, Patricia Nowakowski, and is produced by Opulent Beauty Pro. To receive my free business guides, visit opulentbeautypro.com/free or click the link in the show notes. You can find me on Instagram at Opulent Beauty Pro or at Patricia_Nowakowski_OBS. If you love this show, please consider subscribing, and we will see you next week.